Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's video. I want to share with you a little story about something that happened to my son and I over the last week or so. We went out of town and we're visiting family, and it turned out to be an extremely stressful trip for both of us, but a lot of so for him in many ways. Without getting into all the details, there was an evening that I made some pretty serious mistakes in my parenting, and under stress, I reverted back to some old habits that I thought I had gotten rid of, and it caused a rupture, some damage to our relationship, an event that was really rather traumatic for both my son and I. And I guess I wanted to share a little bit about that with you and kind of what I learned, what I took away from it, and maybe you can take some stuff from this and use it for yourself. The long and the short of it is that I was concerned about some things that were going on, that he wasn't getting enough schoolwork done while we were out of town because we were still technically in school. Because of the stress that I was under for that week, my window of tolerance got to about the size of a thimble, and my tolerance for things just wasn't there. And when our window of tolerance gets so small, we tend our response flexibility goes away, and we no longer have the ability to respond to those situations in the way that we want. Instead, we respond with old bad habits, or we say things out of emotion, and we're not clear-headed about what we're doing. That was what I ended up doing, and I ended up being very intrusive and controlling. And at one point, followed my kid as he was walking down the street trying to get away from me. I didn't see it, and I didn't see how I was contributing to the issue. And eventually, he took off. He got out of my sight and disappeared. Later that evening, when we did find him, luckily he hadn't gotten far, didn't get into trouble. But later on, when we found him, I found a child who was nonverbal. I found a child who had gone through so much stress and so much turmoil and so much that he was unable to communicate. And I know some people say, well, they just choose not to communicate. It's an attention-seeking behavior. And I'm going to push back on that, because he tried to communicate with me many different ways, through pantomime, through text. And that helped me see what I'd been missing leading up to that moment. I was able to see that I had contributed to this situation. Yes, there was a lot of stress going on, and there was a lot that was nothing to do with me, that was years old. But unfortunately, that evening, I was the person who precipitated this event. And it was a teaching moment, a learning moment for me. I'm not judging myself. I'm trying to be very compassionate with myself, because I know that the situation I was under, I did the best with the situation I had and the resources, mental and emotional resources I had available to me. Doesn't make it okay. It means that I made mistakes, right? I mean, we all make mistakes, and we all do things that we later look back on. But I learned a lot about behavior as communication. So I want to revisit that topic, and I want to talk about how behavior is always communication, whether that's coming from a child, a teenager, a young adult, or an 80-year-old, or your spouse or your sibling. Behavior is communication. Emotions are communication. And when we think about those things, it's just something that's frustrating, something that's annoying, something that's bothering us, and an intentional act that our child or our spouse or someone else is doing, it's not helpful to the situation. In fact, it can cause us to lose control. It can cause us to do things we don't want to do. It can cause us to fly off the handle, or flip our lid, or lose control. And none of that is helpful. Instead, we need to focus on what is it that's being communicated here. When my son was, when I found him and he couldn't talk to me, that was an eye-opening experience for me, because communication in every other way except behavior was gone. There was no more verbal communication there for me to take in and interpret. Instead, it was behavior. It was pantomiming. And his facial expressions, all of those were behaviors that he was trying to use in addition to being nonverbal to communicate with me that something was wrong, something wasn't right, and that something had happened to him that was so immediately devastating to him that he couldn't function properly. And that's not on him. That's on life circumstances. That's on the adults in his life. That's on, namely, on me. And that's okay. I owned it. And now I feel more powerful because I've owned it. Because honestly, our children want to avoid conflict with us at all costs. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes they feel that the best way for them to defend themselves and to avoid conflict is to hurt you enough that you leave them alone. So if you want to know why your kid tells you, I hate you, it's because they're trying to get some space. They're trying to hurt you so that you can back off. They're trying to hurt you to make you understand how much they're hurting. Again, this behavior is all communication. Even the decisions that our teens and our young adults make that are outside of the family relationships that seem completely unrelated to the circumstances at home, I guarantee you, are communication. They may be communicating thoughts or feelings that are in their head. They may not be communicating something that's directly about you, but it is communication. And the faster you learn to hear and interpret and understand that communication and calmly inquire about it, the better off you and your child are going to be in your relationship going forward, because they are struggling just as much as you are with that behavior. It's usually not something they want to do. It's usually something that they feel they have to do. It's a protection mechanism, even when it seems to you that they're doing it just to make you upset. It's still all communication, and it's still something they are struggling with. A lot of times it's just that they don't know how to ask for help, or worse yet, maybe they don't even know how to talk about the thing that's going on because they don't understand it well enough to communicate it verbally. And so maybe they try and communicate it in other ways. Maybe it's not intentional, but they have to communicate it, and their body finds a way to get it out. So instead, what we can do is we can focus on finding out what is it that they need. What may they be protecting themselves from? Or what part of them may they be protecting? And what maybe are they trying to communicate with you that they are honestly struggling desperately to communicate with you? And we can see this as an opportunity to teach and guide them and take them by the hand and show them that no matter what happens, you're always there for them. No matter what behavior they use to communicate to you, you are there to listen, understand, connect, and be a support person for them. And honestly, in the end, then we end up with less consequences, less fighting, more communication, and less conflict. So we need to try to focus on what they're trying to communicate and use curiosity to discover what is it that they're going through? What is it that they are thinking and feeling, and know that they may not be okay with opening up to you because they may not have the emotional trust in the world, much less in you, to be open and honest and communicate those things to you. So it's our job at that point, when we find a child who's nonverbal, who is struggling to even use words, it's now our responsibility to focus on how can we understand them? How can we show them that we are a safe place? And I will tell you with no uncertain terms, if you dismiss their feelings, if you tell them that that's not okay to feel, if you tell them that that's just stupid to feel that way, or of course you shouldn't feel that way, or don't think that way, or that's not something you should be worrying about, you're not helping. You're dismissing. And you're making them feel like you're not a safe place to come to. But we want them to feel like we are a safe place. And you may have noticed I haven't said it yet, but judgment. We have to get rid of judgment. If your response is at all judgmental, you are damaging that trust, that relationship. Instead, we need to focus on empathetic listening. If you aren't familiar with that, I do have a video. You can go find it on my YouTube channel or in the Facebook group on empathic or empathetic listening. Very useful tool, especially when you have a child who's trying to communicate to you in behaviors and you're struggling. Sometimes using those same skills of empathetic listening Only instead of listening verbally, we're listening to their physical things, and we're trying to ascertain what's going on for them so that we can, even if we can't help, we can offer support and compassion and ultimately understanding and building connection. My son has since found his vocabulary, found his words again. But that only came after I went to him and worked on repairing the damage that I had done. You've heard me mention before John Balin, Balin and Hughes, and their book, The Neurobiology of Attachment-Focused Therapy. You've heard me mention that they have a line in there that the repair is always more important than whatever the rupture was in the relationship. Always. The value of the repair is exponentially greater than the damage done by the rupture. But that is only true if we focus on repair. If we walk away, pretend it didn't exist, ignore it, and hope that tomorrow our kid's in a better mood, well, they may be, but you haven't repaired that damage. And so that damage is still done. And that damage isn't going to go away. It's there until you repair it. Some of us can relate to this if we think back to our own relationships with our own parents and how there are still things that our parents did that we still think about as, oh, gosh, why did my parents do that when I was 15? Those are the things that our parents never got around to repairing with us. And I know for me, that is the last thing I want for my teenager. I don't want them to become an adult thinking of me of, oh, why did my dad do this thing and not repair that? I'd rather be the dad that he looks back and says, yeah, my dad did stuff that hurt me. But my dad always made sure to repair that relationship with me. And now that I'm an adult, I feel comfortable going to my dad and saying, Dad, I need help. That's the relationship I want with my adult child. But that relationship doesn't start when he's an adult. That relationship starts when he's 12, 13, 14, 15, and he's struggling with something and he needs my help, but he doesn't know how to ask. And so I get behavior, which is just communication. Take the time. Find what is going on for your child. See what they're struggling with. Use curiosity, understanding, connection, and empathy to connect with them and find out how you can help, even if it's only to listen, empathize, and understand. Be the support person. They say research shows that every successful adult gets there by having at least one person in their life who was there for them no matter what, always supported them, and showed them unconditional love. Be that person for your child. And if they have 2 or 3 people, even better. But we all need at least one. So I'm going to leave you today with this story. I hope you were able to gain something out of it. It was a really rough time for my son and I, but I have learned a lot, and we've reconnected, and our relationship is so much better for it. And I hope that I can provide that to you. And if you need further assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out. Send me a message on Facebook. Reach out by following the link in the description to go and schedule a 60-minute connect session with me where we can talk about some strategies to help you deal with what you're struggling with. You can also go to my website, freethoughtcoaching.com, and on there you can check out some of my videos and you can take a look at what it is that I do, and you can connect with me there. I hope everybody has a fantastic week. We're going to be doing these every Wednesday. The plan is every Wednesday at 1 o'clock to do a video like this. I encourage you to please jump in and throw comments in, and let's interact, and let's get these things going. I also have an email community that I just launched. If you go to the Facebook page, you can find a link for it there. Otherwise, if you're seeing this on YouTube, I will have a link to sign up for my email community in the description. Please, guys, leave comments with what in this video stood out for you, what resonated with you, what you took away that you think you can use, or any other comments that you would like to leave for me about this video or other things that I do. I love all of you, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you all for listening. Be the parent that your child needs today. And as always, happy parenting. Thanks for watching, everybody. I really do appreciate the love and support. Leave a comment down below with what in this video resonated with you. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe. and hit that bell icon so you can get notified when I put out a new video. It really helps get these videos out to other parents like yourselves who need them. If you would like to join my Facebook community, Connected Parenting, where I have tons of other resources and a group of parents who are dealing with the same issues you are, the link is in the description. Have a great day. Be intentional about your parenting and attempt to be the parent your kid needs today. And as always, happy parenting.